So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we embark on a Tuesday evening in which the National Basketball Association regular season tips off. Congratulations to all those who observe NBA tip-off week. Celtics and the Knicks going at it right now. Later on tonight, Timberwolves and Lakers, and the big story there, well, LeBron James, obviously, and his son, Bronny James, on the same team. At some point tonight, we'll probably share the court together, which will be a pretty cool scene. No question about that. And then most of the other NBA teams, including my beloved Orlando Magic, will officially tip off their regular seasons tomorrow. In fact, speaking of the Magic, long time, and I do mean long time, television voice of the Orlando Magic, my friend David Steele, will join me in the 9 o'clock hour to preview what should be a pretty exciting year in Orlando. We're going to air Magic games right here, some of them on 1010XL and beginning Saturday night with their ball game against Memphis. So we'll talk to David Steele about the Orlando Magic and the rest of the NBA coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. But obviously it's going to be a ton of Jaguars, and it's going to be a ton of college football. The Jaguars get back to the Miller Electric Center tomorrow in preparation for the Green Bay Packers, who are making the trip here on Sunday. Green Bay, one of the best teams in the NFC at 5-2, coming off a victory over the Houston Texans. Green Bay also beat the Tennessee Titans earlier this year, so they're a good football team. No question about that. At 5-2, the Jaguars are going to have their hands full. Big game for Jacksonville, right? Every game's a big game from here on out. But now that all the dust has settled, 7 games in, as bad as it has been for Jacksonville, and it has been bad at 2-5, they are 2 games out of the final wild card spot with 10 games to go. And that final wild card spot is being held by the Indianapolis Colts, who the Jaguars have a head-to-head victory over. So if the Jaguars win some games, they can get back in the conversation for a playoff spot. But obviously, these next couple of games are very tough. Beginning this week with Green Bay, Justin Barney of Channel 4 will stop by and join me as we'll begin looking ahead to Jacksonville and Green Bay this Sunday. And we will do some college football tonight as well. Will Miles read in reaction later on in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about Florida. And I want to talk about Florida, Florida State, and Miami as we kick it off here. Jesse Simonton, national college football columnist for On3. He joins me in less than 15 minutes. 7 games in for the Gators, the Hurricanes, the Seminoles, and the Bulldogs. We'll kind of assess where we are and where we may be going when it comes to each one of those teams. And let's start right there, because every night on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
It is a big deal. It's a big deal for a lot of reasons, and that's Florida State and Miami. You know, maybe it's my age, being 40 years old, but I started realizing what football was probably around 1990, right? And I lived in Tallahassee for the first 11 years of my life. We didn't move to Jacksonville until 1995. So from 1990 to 1994, man, that was the heart of Florida State football, right? That was Casey Weldon. That was Danny Cannell. That was Marvin Jones and Derek Brooks and Andre Cooper. You know, Warwick Dunn. You go on Tiger McMillan, right? You go on down the line. And as a result of seeing Florida State be so good for so many years, I guess I'm programmed to eventually believe that they're going to turn the corner. I thought that throughout the entirety of the Willie Taggart tenure. Never really happened. I thought that at the end of Bobby Bowden. never really happened, and you thought I would have learned my lesson. But as I've watched Florida State through 7 games, I keep thinking, all right, this is the Garnet and Gold, man. This is Chief Osceola. This is Renegade. This is the Marching Chiefs. This is the Florida State Seminoles. They're going to turn the corner. They're going to start doing their thing. The war chant will be in full effect. It's going to happen. And it just hasn't. They are awful here in 2024. Awful. Maybe the worst Florida State team I've ever seen. And that goes back 35 years. Again, I'm 40 years old, going to turn 41 next week. My first real memory of college football was probably the 1990 season. So in 3.5 decades, I can't ever remember a Florida State team this bad. And the fall from grace is shocking. This is not all Hackers a Gator homer. No, I'm being as legit as I can here with you. I cannot remember a further fall from grace for any team in less than a calendar year. It was 10 months ago, in the middle of December, that we gathered around televisions to watch the committee pick 4 playoff teams, knowing Florida State was 13-0. 13-0. And, of course, they didn't get picked. A lot of their guys opted out. They went to the Orange Bowl, got killed because that was their JV team. But since that moment that they did not get picked for the playoff last year, it has been a disaster of epic college football proportions. They're 1-6 this year. If you include the Orange Bowl, they're 1-7. Some of their games have not been competitive. They lost to Duke for the first time ever. They go to SMU and lose by 26. Georgia Tech beats them in Ireland. Boston College and Memphis go into Doak Campbell and beat them. I mean, what are we doing? And you want to talk about spilling blood in the water? Oh, the Miami Hurricanes have to be licking their chops. Just licking their chops, man. Cam Ward, undefeated Miami, Saturday night, Coral Gables, all those recruits that'll be there. Mario Cristobal, a former Miami player, you know how he probably feels about Florida State. Whew. You always say any given Sunday in the NFL, and you like to think that's true in college, but I cannot wrap my mind around a scenario where Florida State can win in Coral Gables on Saturday night, barring a bunch of injuries, I guess, for Miami. Aside from a bunch of injuries happening, can you imagine or envision a scenario, even if you are the most diehard Florida State fan listening right now, is there a scenario where they go into Coral Gables and beat this Miami team on Saturday night? I don't see it. Which would drop them to 1-7, officially ending any bowl hopes. Man, crazy times in college football. I never in my life, and I mean this, never in my life thought I would see Florida State at 1-6. And yet here we are. I never in my life thought I would see Florida 4-8. And we've seen that twice in the last decade. The Gators are at 4-3 going into a bye week after a big win over Kentucky. We know what lies ahead of Florida. We know it begins with Georgia here in 11 days. Then Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. Finally ending with Florida State. Tough stretch for the Gators, no doubt about it. But again, after 1-2, after losing to A&M and falling to 1-2, Florida fan, I'm willing to bet that if I would have told you you'll be 4-3 heading into the bye week before Georgia, you would have taken that. And here we are. Florida's 4-3. Give credit where credit's due. Winning 3 out of 4, losing the other one in overtime. And here's the funny thing, right? Denmark, you and Marsh do that podcast. I do the Gator Bites podcast. We're on here, Hacker After Dark, every night. People have the shortest memories about things that they say. Shortest memories. But for guys like Denmark and I, our memories are on the MyBookie 1010XL digital platform, right? You go back on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and you can find very easily the things we said. Florida fans, what did we say? What did I say? I said as long as Florida's showing some improvement towards the end of the year, win some games, show some improvement, it's going to be hard to be critical of Billy Napier. I can't be critical of Billy Napier. They're doing exactly what I said. They're winning some games and they're showing some improvement. I can't be critical of him. If that was my exact statement 2 months ago, they're literally doing what I asked them to do. They're showing improvement and they're winning some games. Now, will that continue? I would tend to doubt it, but for the here and now, they did exactly what I asked them to do at the beginning of the year. Show improvement heading into November and win some games. Check, check. So, in the interest of being an objective and fair broadcast journalist here as a radio host on 1010XL, in the interest of fairness, I have to give Billy Napier a thumbs up right now. Let's continue the college football conversation. We'll talk Florida, Florida State, Miami, and more with Jesse Simonton. Jesse does a terrific job as a national college football columnist for On3.com. I mentioned this last night. Jesse uses an analogy when it comes to Billy Napier from one of the most popular 1980s movies around that I thought was spot on. I thought this analogy for this 80s movie that you'll know in regards to Billy Napier and his current situation was absolutely spot on. And he'll tell you about it next on a Tuesday evening here on Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM in Jacksonville. As always, we are glad you are with us.
He is our quarterback savant, and he'll take you inside his mind.
So you can learn more about the science of quarterbacking.
Denny Thompson is the quarterback whisperer. Friday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Tyson Sound and Security and George Moore Chevrolet.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
Electricians, innovators, and tech enthusiasts, listen up. Miller Electric is shaping the future, and we want you to be a part of it. From healthcare and data centers, corporate offices, aviation, and industrial facilities, Miller Electric is powering the most exciting projects in Jacksonville and beyond. We offer not just a job, but a thrilling career with great pay and incredible benefits. Visit us at millercareers.com to apply. Miller Electric, where your skills meet our vision and equal opportunity employer.
What if you could be debt-free by this January? Get rid of all that high-interest debt, pay off all your credit cards, consolidate everything into one lower payment. Hey, it's Prosper here, and if you're ready to stop stressing over bills, you need to call Loan Pronto right now. With rates at their lowest in 2 years, this is the perfect chance to use your home's equity and save big going into the new year. Loan Pronto's got rates with APRs in the low fives, and they're getting homeowners hundreds of thousands out of their home's equity. Homeowners who do this save on average $850 a month. Loan Pronto offers a ton of options, including total refis, express equity lines of credit. So call now, get a rate quote in just minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call today. You won't make a house payment till 2025. 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com or 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
The
The Florida Forum Speaker Series welcomes former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson October 29th. For your chance to win tickets, text FORUM to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
In its final year, we encourage you to help create great futures for young people when you run or walk at Mackenzie's Run, Saturday, November 23rd. Join Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the beautiful stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Enjoy food, live music, face painting, family fun, and more at our Runners Village. Register at mackenziesrun.org. Mackenzie's 5K and Fun Run, November 23rd. mackenziesrun.org.
Do you feel a ghastly presence in your septic tank this Halloween? A septic emergency is spookier than a haunted house. But fear not. Duck Duck Rooter is here to rescue you from the depths of septic despair.
I'm Vlad, the Valiant Septic Tech, ready to cast out the demons from your septic system. If your toilet's acting possessed or your pipes are stirring up a witch's brew, we got the magic wand to fix it all.
Call Duck Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 to schedule your septic tank pumping today.
Atlantic Self-Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self-Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving? They can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjax.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Where can you attend a public university absolutely free? The answer next.
Filing any homeowner's claim is really easy with Southern Oak Insurance. Simply file your claim directly with us. We'll handle the vendors. It will save money for you.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The country of Norway provides free college tuition to any public university, to anyone in the world.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjax.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Florida Gators enjoying a bye week this week, coming off their most impressive win, well, in a long time under Billy Napier, a 48-20 victory over Kentucky. Of course, the big one in the state this week is a 21-point line with the 1-6 Florida State Seminoles going to take on the undefeated Miami Hurricanes. Let's talk about all of that with Jesse Simonton. He's a national college football columnist for On3 Sports, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Jesse, how you doing?
Doing well, Ryan. Doing well.
Jesse, thank you for the time as always. All right, Florida 4-3. Now, when they were 1-2 and they had just lost to A&M, I don't know if people thought Billy Napier would still be here after 7 games. To his credit and to their credit, victories over Mississippi State, UCF, Kentucky. You could argue they probably should have beat Tennessee. Is this a turning of the corner, or are they simply postponing the inevitable?
Well, I actually have a little thing coming out on this at On3 that in my stock report where I said, and I kind of highlight both Billy Napier and Dave Aranda at Baylor. Both those guys picked up huge wins this weekend. It's basically is the dead man walking coaches showing signs of life. And I think you still have to kind of throw a question mark at the end of that statement. That maybe this is kind of a Princess Bride, Miracle Max thing where there's a big difference between being mostly dead and all dead. And I think right now, Billy Napier is in that final sentence where he's probably mostly dead, but he's still slightly alive. And I think he's at least cracked the door to perhaps, be able to see the sideline in 2025. I think that Tennessee result, people may be looking at that come the end of the season as if Florida had won that game, which they should have, then you're looking at 4 straight wins coming off the loss to A&M. Suddenly the tenor would change. I do think it's, it makes sense that they didn't move on from Billy Napier after the A&M game or even during the first bye week because the way the kind of coaching carousel works these days with the transfer portal, the 30-day window, all that, it just doesn't behoove your program. So have they maybe set themselves up for Billy Napier to, coach his way onto the sidelines or to remain on the sidelines in 25? Yeah, but I really don't think they had another choice. We're going to find out a lot about Florida over the next month, obviously. You got number 2 Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. Right now, Billy Napier's lost to, 3 projected college football playoff teams, or at least caliber playoff teams. So there's no, I would say, real, harm in that. But he had no margin for error because of the losses he had accrued the first 2 seasons in Gainesville. So that's why it's kind of, right now, I would say, mostly dead. But that means you're still slightly alive, and I think that's where kind of Billy Napier stands.
I absolutely love the Princess Bride reference. One of my favorite movies growing up. Always loved Andre the Giant in there in the Princess Bride. Jesse Simonton of On 3 here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And Jesse, look, man, it's a youth movement in Gainesville, but good heavens. I mean, DJ Lagway and Jaden Ball looked sensational on Saturday night. And that Kentucky team, that's a good team, right? They darn near beat Georgia. They did go into Oxford and beat Ole Miss. And Jaden Ball, the true freshman, put 5 touchdowns on him. Lagway did his thing. I mean, a lot of excitement down here because of the youth movement. And I'll be honest, there is some question as to whether that in and of itself might keep Billy around, because the concern is if you fire Napier, do guys like Lagway and Ball then enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, and I have complimented Billy on this even throughout his struggles, which I've been quite critical of, and have written many. You had me on when I wrote that Florida doesn't just have a Billy Napier problem, and I do still think there are administrative issues that, regardless of whether Napier stays or goes, need to be sorted out for this program to ultimately reach its potential and ceiling that it had under Spurrier and then Urban Meyer. But to Billy's credit, he has purposely not tethered his tenure or his fate to DJ Lagway. It would have been very easy for him to immediately turn to Lagway as quote unquote the savior, even though Graham Mertz was not the issue. But it would have been, but he didn't do that. Lagway was doing the every 3 series thing, juggling both quarterbacks. But this is the promise of those guys. Lagway's game against Kentucky was hilarious. He only completed 7 passes, but had 275 yards passing. I think it was something, this is not the exact stat, but I think it's something like the fact that he had 7 throws all over 40 yards. I mean, the man must only carry 20s and 50s in his wallet, because he was just Big Bill hunting with these things. All 7 throws over 40 yards. I think that's the first time that's happened in a game in something like 20 years. So just extremely big game hunting, a kind of a crazy performance, but it shows his potential. Like you said, Blues ties the record with 5 rushing touchdowns. Kentucky's offense is nothing to write home about, but Florida, made some plays there too defensively. And probably the biggest thing is, unlike what, the same warts that popped up against Tennessee, where the sloppy special teams and the time, the clock management and wasting timeouts and that kind of stuff, that wasn't present. And so it was a clean game. The UCF game was a clean game. And so you kind of are stacking some of these performances where it's like, hey, if we can get out of our own way, which is what I've argued, has been Florida's biggest problem the last couple of seasons. You look at last year, all those, close to the Arkansas loss, Missouri, Florida State, those were all games Florida absolutely should have won if they weren't, going Yosemite Sam and shooting themselves in the foot. And a lot of that had to do specifically with coaching, with special teams. And so when you start to eliminate those mistakes, hey, you see, hey, we do have some pretty good players. And, hey, maybe we do have the quarterback, the guy that's going to lead us, out of this wilderness. And so there is at least, again, a pathway there.
Jesse Simonton, National College Football columnist on 3sports.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Jesse, the Gators are 4-3. They have a bye week, and then the cocktail party here in Jacksonville, which essentially starts that gauntlet that you talked about. A couple of teams that will not have a bye week this Saturday is Florida State and Miami, although I imagine Seminole fans probably wish it was a bye week because it might get ugly in Coral Gables. I'm flabbergasted. Whatever verbiage you want to use, Jesse, on a 1-6 start by Florida State. In my wildest nightmare, I couldn't imagine a scenario like this for Florida State. I got a lot of buddies that are Seminole alumni, and they can't believe it. Every week they go out there and just lose to teams they have no business losing to. What's your thought on Florida State from 13-0 in December before getting snubbed for the playoff to now maybe the worst Power 4 team in college football? I certainly think they're in the conversation.
They certainly are. And I'll say this as an aside. It's gotten so dark for Florida State this season that in a year where we see every single team rush the field, Duke beats them for the first time in school history and doesn't even bother rushing the field.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't say, the nadir that maybe the Seminoles have kind of tumbled to, I don't know what does. I think this is the day I have not written about Florida State in a couple of weeks because it has gotten so bad. But after one of their losses, I can't remember if it was I think it was after SMU. I had a column at On3 kind of highlighting the fact that this is the danger of trying to build your program annually through the transfer portal. Mike Norvell was kind of dubbed the portal king, not Lane Kiffin, because his hit rate was kind of absurd. And what happens is that you can kind of get fat and happy and think that you can maybe identify these portal players better than everybody else. And maybe you can to a degree. But it is still kind of a dangerous game because you're playing such a mercenary deal. And so the best programs, the best teams are still building through the high school base. That is the foundation. That is the kind of crux of their roster. And then they're supplementing around with the transfer portal. So you're talking Georgia, you're talking Texas, Ohio State, that they invested heavily in the portal, but it was only on a couple of players. Oregon probably has done the best in terms of kind of making that balance where it's not necessarily a 50-50 deal, but Dan Lanning has leaned more into the portal than some of these other traditional blue bloods. But it's been at certain positions, and that's kind of worked. For Mike Norvell, too much of the roster has been portal guys, and so then the depth behind that, there's not the development. The high school recruiting has not been what it should be for Florida State. He still hadn't signed a top 10 class. I don't think the staff there is really stocked with strong recruiters, and that's been a problem. And so then when you add all that up, Ryan, and then you whiff at the most important position, Cam Ward could have been on this team, but he opted to go to Miami over Florida State. They have to settle for DJU. That's a disaster. And then Brock Glenn clearly is not it. He has 3 turnovers in 3 plays against Duke. It's abhorrent football. And last year certainly looks like the outlier season. And it really, frankly, looks like the likes of Jared Verse, Coleman, Keon Coleman, Jordan Travis, Fisk, some special guys, some NFL guys. It looked like they masked a lot of issues And so Florida State takes advantage of a kind of, favorable schedule. Everything comes together because you have some stars. You take that out of the equation, and suddenly Mike Norvell's program is going to be facing a lot of questions and uncertainty heading into 2025.
Jesse, as we begin to wrap up, they're going to go probably 3-9, maybe 4-8 if they're lucky. 4-8 would mean they have to win every other game except at Miami, at Notre Dame. It would mean beating Florida and North Carolina. So maybe that's even a little ambitious. Let's split the difference. Say they go 3-9. I mean, how is he on a hot seat entering 2025?
Oh, I think absolutely he'd be facing kind of a make or break season, because basically you would have kind of that the 1 year would be an outlier. He did have, I guess, the 10-win season in 2022 when you add in the bowl game, but that would be 3 out of 5 losing seasons, possibly 2 really disgusting losing seasons. 2020 was bad. 2021, I think 5-7, and then you're talking about. I mean, I think 3, 4, and if winning 4 games is probably ambitious. I think 3-9, you're probably right. That's probably where he would settle. So that it's tough. I think you're absolutely going to see some staff changes in Tallahassee, and it's going to be about do they have the quarterback on the roster? Are they going to dip back in the portal and get that right?
Miami is the one team from Florida that's positioned themselves very good for the playoff. I guess the question is around here in the Southeastern Conference, is Alabama done? And how many SEC teams are still alive for that 12-team playoff, in your opinion?
Yeah, Alabama's not done. They are not. I have playoff projections, they're not my actual projections. They're what I think the committee will do. That comes out every Tuesday morning at On3. Alabama's out, obviously, right now. They've been in every other week. They are out now. But there are probably 30-ish teams around that number that remain in the mix for potential, at-large and or automatic berths. And Alabama's firmly in that camp. Now, they have to win Saturday against Missouri. I think that game against LSU in early November is going to be kind of a playoff elimination game for those teams. And so they're not out of it, but they're playing like they should be out of it and should not be in that conversation. And so if some things don't change, they're one of the most penalized teams in the country. Jalen Milroe has been bad for 2 straight weeks. They really, which was a concern I raised during the offseason, really don't have a receiver outside of Ryan Williams that scares you. The secondary continues to blow coverages. I mean, that was an ugly game against Tennessee. And yet Tennessee missed a bunch of layups. Nico was just overshooting receivers time and again, but those guys were open. Eventually those guys were going to, make a play. And sure enough, Alabama was still not covering them, and Tennessee hit a couple plays, and that proved to be the difference in the game. So I think in terms of how many SEC teams can make it right now, I think Georgia, it would be close to a lock with that win over Texas. Even if they lose 1 or 2 more games, people will scoff at a 9-3 team. But the fact that they'll have had 2 top 10 wins on their resume against that schedule, the committee has proven that it values wins and big wins over losses, i.e. Florida State missing the playoff a year ago because they didn't have the wins versus some one-loss teams. So right now, Georgia, I think, looks very good. Texas is still in great shape because their schedule. Tennessee now vaults up because they do have the win against Alabama. They look like a 10-2 team. And then it's going to be, kind of how the rest unfolds. Can LSU win enough games? Texas A&M is absolutely lurking. Alabama's right there. So those would probably be the schools that are still in the mix in terms of the SEC.
12-team playoff already is a lot of fun, and it doesn't even get underway until December 20th. But the speculation is what makes it great, as, again, 12 teams will be contending for that national championship. Jesse Simonton of On3. Jesse, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about On3, your coverage you provide, and where they can find it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. National columnist at On3. You can find me there, at the top of the homepage almost every day. Sometimes, like on Mondays, I have a couple pieces that come out So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Jesse R.E. Simonton, SIMONTON. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ryan.
He's one of our favorites when it comes to talking college football. Jesse, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
There you go. Jesse Simonton of On3.com here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And again, I love the analogy. Maybe because it's one of my favorite movies, The Princess Bride. But the whole mostly dead compared to all dead in reference to Billy Napier and his job security. You know, in The Princess Bride, that Mad Max scene that was played by Billy Crystal, he said, well, when somebody's all dead, all you can really do is go through their pockets and look for loose change. Mostly dead is slightly alive. And when you think about Billy Napier, yeah, some people thought he was all dead after the A&M game. People wanted him fired the Sunday after that. But then they beat Mississippi State. And then they beat UCF. And then they should have beat Tennessee. Napier did not do well in that game. But then they turned around and beat Kentucky by 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, he's probably still on a very, very, very hot seat. And I don't know if he's going to be coaching in 2025 or not. But there is start to have a conversation about that because of winning 3 of the last 4. So we'll see what happens. If they can pick off an Ole Miss or an LSU and beat Florida State and wind up in a bowl game with 6 wins, I don't know. Do you fire Billy Napier if he goes to a bowl game with this schedule? That'll certainly be a conversation if/when that does occur. More college football coming up later on in the 9 o'clock hour. Will Miles, readandreaction.com, will join me to continue the conversation about Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. But coming up next, back into the National Football League. The Jaguars get their second win of the year over in London. They are back at the Miller Electric Center tomorrow to prepare for the Green Bay Packers, who roll in this Sunday. Justin Barney of Channel 4 will join me to talk Jags, look ahead to Green Bay, and sprinkle in a little high school football talk. That's coming up next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Get inside the mind of Jags coach Doug Peterson.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't have butterflies.
Coach Speaks. Fridays at 4:05 on The Franchi Show.
I want to win.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, Custom Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
You know, I come on here all the time and talk about Awaken 180 and losing over 100 pounds and how Awaken 180 weight loss has been life-changing. And I'll give you a prime example. Earlier today, for over an hour, I was playing with my son as far as hide and seek, tag, football, you name it. We had a great time this afternoon out in the yard there in front of my house. You think I was doing that when I weighed 317 pounds? Of course not. Life was just passing me by, man. But on Awaken 180 weight loss, that's what I'm talking about, life-changing. On Awaken 180, I've lost over 100 pounds. And now as a result of that, I can do so many more things that I just couldn't do or didn't have the energy to do 6-7 months ago. If you need to lose a ton of weight like I did, heck, if you need to lose 20 pounds, go to awaken180weightloss.com. They changed my life. They can change yours as well. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley. Hi, Ken. Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see. Hard water.
Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis.
What is hard water?
Oh,
Is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Okay, everyone, what did you think of the chocolate bar?
It's too chewy.
Feels kind of chalky.
Too much nougat.
I need to go brush my teeth.
Business is booming for Steph's small marketing research firm.
After all these focus groups, there's only one conclusion. I need more researchers.
And she's way too busy researching.
Does this have peanuts?
To waste time researching resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
57% of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida alumni say the club saved their lives. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida support over 5,000 local youths each day. Help support this work and have some fun at the same time. Join us at the Beaches Barbecue Bash, Monday, October 28th at ABBQ Atlantic Beach for barbecue, great beverages, live music, and an auction to positively impact our youth each day. Learn more at bgcnf.org/events.
Oh my goodness. Fishing is more fun when you catch something.
Yeah!
Listen for the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show with Captain Kevin. Brought to you by Veterans Wholesale Cabinets and Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Find your why with membership at the First Coast YMCA. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Come try free access to your local Y every Wellness Wednesday this month. Check out our fitness classes, swimming, pickleball, youth sports, and so much more for free every Wednesday in October. Plus, we'll waive the join fee when you become a member this month. Get active, be social, live healthier, and discover all the benefits of YMCA membership at your local Y or visit fcymca.org.
Hey, Hickett here. I want to talk skin along with my friends at Beaches Dermatology, reminding you to wear your sunscreen. Football season is back, baby. And with that, days under that bright sun. So when you load up that truck for the game day tailgate, or the chairs for your kids' flag games, or even the boat heading downtown to watch our Jags, make sure you bring the screen. Sunscreen, that is. It's a must here in Duval. But if you have any concerns right now, give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Prosser here. I've been telling you for years about Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us. Imagine watching your favorite team in your new Lifetime Man Cave, family hangout, or Lifetime's version of a she shed. And now Lifetime is expanding their replacement window division. Make your home energy efficient with their Energy Star rated windows, enclosures, flooring, and windows to fit any and all budgets. Visit the showroom just off Phillips Highway. Proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let Lifetime be your home team.
If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Packers coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. Green Bay comes in at 5-2 on the year. The Jaguars 2-5, although coming off a much-needed victory over the New England Patriots. Let's talk Jags. Let's talk about this game on Sunday, and let's do that with Justin Barney of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Justin, how we doing?
Not too bad, Hack. Celebrating a victory Monday for the first time, and it doesn't feel like it's been frequent enough for Jaguars fans, but the second time this year they're coming home with a victory and get to celebrate it a little bit today.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's a W that was much, much needed. Look, New England's not the best competition. Let's not kid ourselves, but at the end of the day, you just needed to get a win to feel good about some things, and the Jaguars certainly accomplished that over in London.
Yeah, you needed to too often Jacksonville has faced bad teams and played down to them. I mean, whether you go to Doug Peterson's tenure, Doug Marone's tenure, Jack Del Rio, they played down to teams that they should have just starched on the field. And the Patriots are a team that Jacksonville should have waxed, and they did just that. Got a little hairy in that first quarter. They're down 10-0, but you saw the flickers of what this team was really expected to be in that second quarter, where they ripped off 22 points and essentially put the game out of reach. So a great effort in London. I don't know if Doug Peterson survives, or the questions amp up considerably if they come home from London 0-2.
Oh, I totally agree with that. And you mentioned the 10-0 deficit, Justin. I almost thought that was a good thing, because what happened, every time almost this year the Jaguars have faced adversity, they just ball up into a shell and go home. And, Trevor even said the word fragile after the Chicago game. We heard the word quit from Andre Sisco in the locker room. Well, you're down 10-0. It would have been very easy to say, woe is me, and here we go again. Yet Jacksonville scores the next 25 points in that football game. That was encouraging to see.
Yeah, and you've seen it time and again where it's been that implosion where things have happened and it's snowballed. See it in the Chicago game. We saw it in the Buffalo Bills game earlier this year, where things, one thing here, one thing there, goes off track, and it's the same old Jaguars, the same old thing, but against New England, a team that they should have done that too. It was not the case. They were actually able to muscle up and take advantage of that, and good to see that. They really needed a performance like that and be able to come home with a game like that under their belt. Now it gets significantly tougher after what we just saw in New England.
Justin Barney, Channel 4, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Justin, clearly the two biggest talking points in the city this week, Brian Thomas and Tank Bigsby. Let's begin with Brian Thomas. Over 500 yards receiving already, 4 touchdowns. He leads all rookies in yardage, and he's like top 6 or 7 in total yardage for NFL wide receivers, rookies or veterans. Man alive. And to think the Jaguars not only got Brian Thomas, but actually acquired additional picks in the 2025 draft when they traded down. Say what you will about Balky, and there's plenty of room to criticize him in numerous aspects of what he's done, but it looks like that's a grand slam with the Brian Thomas pick.
Yeah, through 7 games, it certainly looks like that. And Jacksonville's history of drafting receivers high has not exactly been a pristine one. You look back, and the man who holds the Jaguars rookie receiving record, Justin Blackmon, he was a top 5 pick, unbelievable physical specimen and just a freak. But he flamed out after a couple years due to substance abuse issues, and he holds the rookie yardage receiving record at 865 on 64 catches. Brian Thomas right now, he's got 30 catches and 513 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 touchdown away from Justin Blackmon's 5 that he had as a rookie, getting close to that yardage mark. And Alan Hearns holds the rookie receiving record for Jaguars. Of course, he was undrafted at 6, and it looks like Brian Thomas may get that, certainly have that in the rear view by the bye week. So I think even though the rest of the draft class from 2024 still remains to be seen, especially with Mason Smith being inactive for the second game as a healthy scratch, but Brian Thomas certainly helping forget some of those questionable picks later on in the draft.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's going to be this guy, so I don't want people going on social media saying, oh, Hacker said this. But you want to throw out interesting stats, I got one for you. I read this earlier. Brian Thomas is the first wide receiver with 30 catches or fewer and over 500 yards as a rookie since Randy Moss in 1998. Which just goes to show you the absolute big playability. You're talking about an 85-yard touchdown, a 61-yard catch, a 58-yard catch. Justin, we haven't had that around here in a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, you probably got to wind the clock back to Jimmy and Keenan's days to have really find a guy who was that. I guess Allen Robinson can make a case as well. He had a fantastic season before he suffered the knee injury, but it's been a long time since Jacksonville has truly had a deep field stretcher. I mean, Allen Robinson's unbelievable year, and before that it was Jimmy and Keenan. But it looks like just through 7 games that BTJ could be the answer to just one of the most unbelievable deficits at the position Jacksonville's had. They have not had really an electric receiver and I don't even know how long. I mean, Allen Robinson was not a first-round pick. He was a second-round pick, but he turned out to be pretty well. But, I mean, it has been a dearth of guys who have tried to fill that number one wide receiver role, a draft and develop kind of guy. BTJ certainly looks like he could be the answer to a lot of prayers for Jaguars fans.
Couple of more for Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, I'm old enough to remember when people thought Tank Bigsby wasn't any good. And I'm not going to throw stones in a glass house. Tank Bigsby did not play very well last year, and I was critical of him at times. I think we all were to an extent. And what a difference a year makes, man. That year 1 to year 2 jump we always talk about. Well, it was a leap over the Grand Canyon, it looks like right now for Tank Bigsby. He just looks like a complete 180-degree difference from what he was a year ago.
Yeah, and talking to Tank a few times in training camp, Jamal, Alessandra and I both, or all three of us, had conversations with Tank about his improvement and what changed and how much the game had slowed down. And he looked good in training camp. I mean, he looked really, really good. And tough to gauge totally from games, but just in camp, just in the padded practices, he looked so sharp and like a different player. And a lot of Tank's problems last year were just those mistakes, the miscues, a ball off the hand or a fumble when he was hit. So issues that coaches can correct, but you're glad that it didn't have a void in his mind or lack of confidence. And he certainly did not. I know he had some dark times last year, but I think any of us who covered the team and have watched Tank really did question if he was capable of being the guy after that dismal rookie season. And he has certainly answered that with an emphatic yes. He certainly can be that guy. And it will be interesting to see when Travis Etienne gets back and healthy, what that coaching staff does with to split those carries up between those two guys.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, what was your assessment of Trevor Lawrence against New England?
Yeah, I thought, if you look at just the box score, you say, not really that big of a game, no 200 yards passing, but they didn't need him to go out and force things. The ground game was working so well. Trevor was very efficient and successful, had the long ball to BTJ. He did what they needed him to do. He didn't commit any egregious mistakes. He was very effective. And I thought it was one of Trevor's, even though the stats aren't going to say it, I thought it was one of his most consistent and best games of the season. And his first 4 games, they stunk. There was no way around it. He didn't get a lot of help. He was getting sacked too much. But these last probably 2.5 weeks, he has looked really, really good and on the tick upwards. And yesterday he didn't get sacked at all either. And that's a credit to that improving offensive line. If Trevor can just keep making those small incremental steps week after week after week, I think a lot of the naysayers, myself included, will have to take a back seat and give Trevor's props because he is progressing.
Justin, 2-5 is the reality. I mean, that's where they are. Now they're 2 games out of the last wild card spot. There's 10 games to go, and there's an eternity to go. But clearly the schedule is going to get a lot harder beginning with Green Bay coming up this Sunday. I want to get to the Packers in a moment. But there's no doubt that injuries have played a role in where Jacksonville has been. They got ravaged early in the year. Yet all of a sudden, Evan Ingram is back doing his thing. Tyson Campbell is back. Foye Oluokun and Andrew Wingard look like they're both on the doorstep to returning. Slowly but surely, the Jaguars are starting to get some guys back, which may make it an interesting next month or so.
Yeah, and they do have a deep hole to climb out of. You heard Trevor talk about that, and after the game, just about the deep hole that they've dug themselves in. But they have done it before, and they showed as recently as 2022 that when their back is against the wall, that they can perform. We saw that and made believers out of a lot of people, myself included. And I don't think it's right to write them off this early in the season. Now, if they go out and lay an egg against Green Bay and then go to Philly and get waxed, then we're having a different conversation. But as Doug Peterson says, it's a week-to-week basis, and they're coming off a win. That's all you can ask. And the next step is stacking 2. They haven't had a winning streak in feels like 5 years, but they have a chance to do that on Sunday against the Packers.
I told Tom McManus and Dave Campo this earlier in the week. It's interesting when you talk about Green Bay, and I don't know if it's going to mean anything, but I think it's worth pointing out that big emotional win for the Packers against Houston. Great game. By the way, former Jaguar kicker Brandon McManus with the 50-yarder to win it. Next week, the Packers host Detroit at Lambeau Field, national TV, 4:25 on Fox. Tom Brady and the crew will be there. Probably the biggest game that Sunday. And sandwiched in the middle of Houston and Detroit is this trip to Jacksonville. Again, I don't know, Justin, if that'll mean anything, but you always talk about the classic sandwich game. Well, the Jaguars from that aspect may not be in a bad position on Green Bay's schedule.
Yeah, and I do think coming off a win, the biggest thing for Jacksonville is just stacking some momentum. And, Doug has said and alluded to it before that there was a lot of defeat when you looked on the faces of guys in the locker room because the struggles and they weren't seeing that the work they put in practice pay off. When you start stacking wins, that changes the complexion of a team. You saw it in 2022, what 1 and 2 wins did to a team. It turned the season around. And I do think that Jacksonville is capable of doing exactly what it did in 2022 if it can beat some of these next opponents. This is a murderer's row stretch coming up. You've got Green Bay, Philly, Minnesota, and Detroit, a bye week, and then Houston. Your season is going to be decided between weeks 8 and 13. And if you can scratch out a few, you can get a winning record in that stretch. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to wrap up with a season like we saw in 2022 and maybe make the playoffs at a 9-8.
Justin, as we say goodbye, Jaguar season really picking up. High school football playoffs are on the horizon. They're going to start a week later than normal because the FHSAA is extending the regular season a week due to all the storm issues. I just want to say this, and I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. Kudos to all the coaches and everybody involved for getting as many of these games in as possible. I can never remember this many weather disruptions under the Friday Night Lights. We've had like 3 hurricane issues that have caused games to be canceled or postponed, and these coaches and administrations have worked to get all these games in. These kids earn the right to get as many of these regular season games in as possible, and I think it's been a pretty solid job by all involved.
Yeah, and you got to go back to 2017 where we had quite a few weather issues like this due to hurricanes, and then 2004 before that where we had substantial hurricane cancellations and postponements, and teams. I remember St. Augustine played in half of its kickoff classic and then didn't play again for almost another month due to hurricanes. So there are changes and challenges, and I think Joey Weil said it best to me years ago. Football players and coaches are creatures of habit, and once you get out of that habit and the schedule and structure of things, it's a testament to see who can kind of weather the storms. And I think you're seeing a lot of that this year with a lot of these teams having to get thrown curveballs and to have to react and produce something pretty strong out of it.
Justin, final question. Bradford, Nice, Rains, St. Augustine. Who's the best team in the area right now?
Man, I think it's a toss-up between Rains and Nice. Nice, number 1 team in the state in terms of the ranking points for FHSAA. Rains is our number 1 team. Nice is 2. Both those teams undefeated. Rains trying to lock down its first unbeaten regular season in more than 20 years. I think the last Rains team that finished regular season unbeaten ended up winning a state championship all the way back in '97. So this is a good range team, and Nice has not had an unbeaten regular season since 2006, the year Tim Tebow graduated. They've got a great team over there now. Colin Draft's got an exceptional bunch, especially on the defensive side of the ball. 77 points allowed all season. So I think Rains and Nice unquestionably 1 and 2 or 2 and 1, however you want to do it. But 2 teams head of the class in our area.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Take care, Hack. Thanks for having me.
English is their second language. Their native tongue is teal and black. Let's go! Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony bring you Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
10 to noon on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
The Jaguars are back at Everbank Stadium to go head-to-head with the Green Bay Packers for our crucial catch game.
Join us October 27th as we fight cancer through early detection, risk reduction, and awareness all game long. Lock in your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you there.
Picture this. It's a dark and stormy night, and your toilet is acting possessed. But fear not, for Duck Duck Rooter is here to exorcise those plumbing demons and banish them to the netherworld. So if you're facing a plumbing horror story straight out of a nightmare, summon the spectral expertise of Duck Duck Rooter. Call 904-862-6769 and bid those plumbing phantoms farewell. Duck Duck Rooter, where we tackle plumbing scares so you don't have to.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Jacksonville, are you ready? The college basketball season is tipping off with an epic in-state showdown. The Florida Gators and South Florida Bulls go head-to-head in the Jacksonville Sports Foundation Invitational. Be there Monday, November 4th at Veterans Memorial Arena and witness this in-state rivalry live. Secure your seats now at Ticketmaster.com. It's Florida versus South Florida to start the college basketball season on November 4th in Jacksonville. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and GIA-certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,300 per ounce and hasn't seen this level in over 13 years. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
The experts at AMCO have been fixing cars for almost 60 years. Over that time, they've gotten more complex than ever. That's why our techs undergo rigorous training and certifications, so they can fix anything, including the most complicated repairs that come with some of the latest technologies. After 60 years, there's nothing we haven't seen or fixed. It's how we know cars inside and out.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker. Because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Opening night in the NBA, the Boston Celtics raised a banner earlier tonight, and they are absolutely destroying the New York Knicks right now. 105-76 Celtics over the Knicks. 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Later on, Minnesota and the Lakers. And then most every other team will begin play tomorrow night as the NBA regular season begins. We'll talk a little NBA. We'll go down to Orlando in about 25 minutes. My guy David Steele, longtime television voice of the Orlando Magic, will join me to preview Orlando's season. They get underway tomorrow night against the Miami Heat. Coming up next, back into the world of college football, Will Miles of ReadandReaction.com. Let's talk Florida. Let's talk Billy Napier. Let's look back on the season so far and look ahead to the season that is. What does Billy Napier need to do over the next 5 games to keep his job for 2025? We'll talk about that with Will Miles, ReadandReaction.com next. Tuesday night, Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us. 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Someone's going to win a tailgate combo pack from Southern Steer Butcher, valued at $100, and it could be you.
Yes!
Every month you'll have a shot at a Corona tailgate tent with a cooler, chair, and a collectible football. It's the ultimate tailgate. Enter at 1010XL.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
What if you could be debt-free by this January? Get rid of all that high-interest debt, pay off all your credit cards, consolidate everything into one lower payment. Hey, it's Prosper here, and if you're ready to stop stressing over bills, you need to call Loan Pronto right now. With rates at their lowest in 2 years, this is the perfect chance to use your home's equity and save big going into the new year. Loan Pronto's got rates with APRs in the low 5s, and they're getting homeowners hundreds of thousands out of their home's equity. Homeowners who do this save on average $850 a month. Loan Pronto offers a ton of options, including total refis, express equity lines of credit. So call now, get a rate quote in just minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call today. You won't make a house payment till 2025. 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com or 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at ProJaxRoofingFL.com.
Spend lunchtime with the ladies.
Hey, where's your sense of adventure?
They don't cook, but they serve up spicy sports talk.
Sure, it's on the menu.
Helmets and heels.
That is a meal.
Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Hear the Florida Gators all season on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors. Proud partner of the Florida Gators. And by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Everyone needs hope, but hope doesn't win cases. Weekends, long hours, resolve, hard work. That's what can win cases. Hope doesn't roll up its sleeves to help secure your future, but we do. Farrah and Farrah, Jacksonville.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Watch top local fighters in the Police Athletic League's Boxing Championships October 26th. Find out more at jaxpal.org.
Thousands of people in Duval County suffer from Alzheimer's. To join the Walk to End Alzheimer's at UNF November 9th, visit alz.org/Jacksonville Walk.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
Pace Center for Young Teen Girls has been helping local girls realize and fulfill their individual potential year-round since 1985. To see how you can help change a young girl's life in your community, visit pacecenter.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Make your dream of living in luxury a reality in Lennar's newest 55 and up active adult community, Edenbrook at Highland Trail. Located in the heart of Green Cove Springs, Edenbrook offers world-class amenities with a dedicated activities director and homes starting in the high 300s, with rates as low as 3.99% and up to $50,000 in flex cash on our new Edenbrook homes. The time to buy is now. Call 904-643-3750 to find out more. Your life of luxury awaits in Edenbrook at Highland Trail by Lennar.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Strength and resistance training are some of the best forms of exercise you can do to strengthen your muscles and improve your body composition. It may also lead to important improvements in metabolic health, meaning your blood sugar levels are easier to manage, and it also increases how many calories you burn at rest. The Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommends resistance training twice per week in addition to cardio training. Let's get fit, Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farrah and Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Florida Gators enjoying a bye week this week before that 5-game gauntlet that we've all talked about really begins with the cocktail party here in Jacksonville a week from Saturday. Florida was left for dead at 1-2, and that includes head coach Billy Napier. But you look now, wins over Mississippi State, UCF, Kentucky, and you could argue they probably should have beat Tennessee, and all of a sudden they're 4-3. And is there a turning of the corner, or is there simply postponing the inevitable? Let's talk about all of it with Will Miles, readandreaction.com. He's also part of the Gators Breakdown podcast. And Will is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Will, how you doing, man?
Doing well. It's certainly a lot better to come on here and talk after a good win over Kentucky as opposed to some of the games we've had earlier this year. So it's always good times in Gator Nation when you get a big SEC win.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And look, like I said at the top, I mean, this team, this coach, this staff was basically done. They were left for dead after losing to A&M. They were 1-2. People were wondering if Billy was literally going to be fired the Sunday after A&M. And I'm not saying they've beat 3 powerhouses, but you beat Mississippi State, you beat UCF, you beat Kentucky. You show very well in an overtime loss to Tennessee on the road. I mean, what's your thought? Is this a turning of the corner, or again, is this just a postponement of what everybody thought was inevitable?
Well, I mean, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning of the year before it even started. I came on your show during the offseason, and I said college football is about hope and it's about wins and losses, and that's the only way you sell fan bases. And Napier, obviously coming out of the chute 1-2 with his only win over Samford, really sort of exhausted some of the goodwill that he might have had with the fan base building up over the offseason. And so, he's put a few small deposits in the bank at this point, but let's be honest. I mean, Central Florida and Mississippi State and even Kentucky, even though Kentucky was on a three-game win streak against Florida, those are small deposits. The opportunity to put in big deposits comes now, right? Now that you're facing Georgia and Texas and Ole Miss and LSU in that stretch. And he's got an opportunity to put a bunch of money back in the bank. The question is going to be, did he pull out too much to begin with some of the way the team's played over the last couple of years? And it really rests on DJ Lagway. I mean, we saw him play really, really well against Samford, and then he was kind of middling in mixed work against A&M and Mississippi State and Central Florida. And Tennessee in that second half, other than the one laser he threw for the touchdown, you're sort of like that wasn't a really good performance. And then he comes out against Kentucky and he looks like Samford DJ Lagway again. And, the mixture of the explosives that he's able to put up in the deep ball and what that opens up for Florida's offense. I mean, I picked this game against Kentucky to be 23-20 Kentucky. Kentucky did almost exactly what I expected on the offensive side of the ball. The difference is that Florida was explosive in a way they haven't been since Anthony Richardson was in town. So, I mean, if you're going to say, can Billy save his job? It's always been tied to DJ Lagway. But now that the time is here and Lagway has the reins, it's really tied to Lagway. And we'll see. I mean, obviously, if DJ can lead them to wins, the cocktail party is a big deposit. If you can get a win in that game, then all of a sudden we can have a discussion. But if you go out there and get beat 48-20 the other way, where Georgia's coming off the field, and we got to watch Kirby, talk about whatever he's going to talk about afterwards. I mean, really, I think that's the way you turn the tide. Winning against Kentucky is nice, but it's going to take a win over Georgia or Texas to get anybody really who had already thrown in the towel to come back on Billy's side.
Will Miles, readandreaction.com, also a part of the Gators Breakdown podcast. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Will, not only DJ Lagway, he was certainly one of the stars, but the main star Saturday night, Jaden Baugh, my goodness, 5 touchdowns filling in for Montrell Johnson. The first time ever Florida had started a true freshman at quarterback and a true freshman at running back. Just talk about the performance of Baugh as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, when no turnovers, which I think is the most important thing. Ball's been really good at pass protection, which is how you win over your coach to put you in there and how you win the job. Now, certainly they've had a bunch of injuries back there. Trayon Webb's been out. Montrell Johnson was out for this one as well. And when Johnson gets healthy, he'll be back in there. But, Napier and company have done a really nice job. Jabbar Jalouk has done a very nice job of recruiting that running back room, bringing in high-level guys who, one of the reasons you stack guys at a position when you're recruiting is you only need 1 or 2 of them to really work out and be a star. And, Florida seems to be able to find, and Billy Napier seems to be able to find talent at the running back position. You think about Montrell Johnson, but also Trevor Etienne came in and was immediately good as a true freshman. And now you've got Jaden Baugh in there performing as a true freshman in there as well. So clearly they're not afraid of bringing guys in there. Now, 22 carries for 106 yards against a pretty stout Kentucky defense is a very good performance. The 5 touchdowns, obviously, is what jumps off the page. But in many ways, all those touchdowns were set up by Lagway, right? When you're able to hit those deep shots. I mean, Lagway had 3 throws in the second half, and they were for 107 yards. So he's averaging 35 yards a throw in the second half. That's going to open up your running game in some capacity, just because the defense can no longer sit there with an extra safety up there to help. And so I think those things are symbiotic, but certainly Florida's in good hands at the running back position with Ball back there, even if Johnson's out for an extended period of time.
Lagway is so dynamic with his legs too, Will, but the problem is you look on the depth chart now, there's nothing behind DJ Lagway at the quarterback position. They'd be going to walk-ons. And so you wonder what Billy Napier will do with Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. I mean, good grief, the gauntlet coming up. Is that going to hamper him in his playbook, knowing that they literally have nothing behind Lagway, and will that affect how Florida calls these games?
Yeah, I mean, you would love to be able to pull DJ back and say, hey, sit in the pocket. But honestly, that's not who he is. He is a boom or bust quarterback right now. And you saw that in the game against Kentucky. He ends up 7 of 14, but in the first half, he's 4 of 11. And, he did a really nice job at times of hitting the deep shots when they were there, but he also threw into traffic a few times when they were sort of the shorter curls and hitches and those sorts of things. That's who he is right now. And so adding the read option, adding the RPOs, adding that extra threat really does give him a dimension that will allow Florida to move the ball down the field. And look, if you don't get against a team like Georgia or a team like Texas, if you don't get a transformative type performance, like a QB rating in the 180s, 190s from DJ Lagway, you're not winning those games. And so if it takes running the ball for him to open that up, I think that's a risk that Billy Napier and company are going to have to take. And, if you lose to Georgia by 7 or you lose to Georgia by 40 because you wound up with a backup quarterback in there, nobody in Gainesville is giving Billy Napier credit for moral victories at this point. Like, he's got to win some games, and Lagway is going to prepare him to do that. But I think they're going to have to run him to do that, and so it's just where they are at this point. I don't think you can really worry about, is he going to be there for the game against Ole Miss? You got to make sure you get the yardage that you need when it comes time against Georgia or Texas.
A couple more for Will Miles of ReadandReaction.com. Will, the Gator defense was awful against Miami, Samford, A&M, and Mississippi State. I mean, they were bad. And then they had the bye week. And then I don't know what happened in that bye week, but since the bye, UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Gator defense has been much, much better. What do you attribute that to?
I mean, I think they're finally giving the playing time to the guys who needed the playing time. A guy like Triquez Bridges did a really nice job with some open field tackles against Kentucky. Jack Pyburn at defensive end, Billy Napier talked about, we need to get him more snaps. And granted, that's Napier's responsibility, but he's getting more snaps now. Devin Moore has always been good when he's been on the field. He's been able to get back. But I'll tell you, there are three guys. I think Pup Howard all year long. Grayson Howard, the transfer from South Carolina, has been awesome. Jaden Robinson at linebacker has really stepped up as well. And Aaron Gates, the last two games, has done a really nice job of being disciplined at the defensive back position. So holding the backside on a reverse against, I think it was Central Florida, he defended a fourth down really well. He made a tackle for a loss where he shed a tight end. So I think what it really comes down to is the personnel has changed. I mean, you think about who was sort of on the defensive line, who was at the linebacker position, and even who was at the defensive back position. We haven't seen guys like Asa Turner. We haven't seen guys like DJ Douglas. Now, some of that is because of injury, but the guys who are in there have performed. They've won individual battles. I think that's what really happened. They haven't changed, at least as far as I can tell. They haven't changed the scheme that much. They're just starting to win some individual battles up front that they hadn't won, for 2 or 3 years now.
Will, as we begin to wrap up, look, we crushed Napier, and I include myself in that, the collective we crushed Napier in the bad times. I am going to give him credit, man. It would have been very easy after A&M to lose the locker room. It would have been very easy after that 1-2 start for the kids not to buy in or listen anymore and, give up, go into the portal, whatever you want to call it. The fact that despite the unbelievable amount of noise in the system, that he kept the locker room together. The guys are playing hard. Obviously, they're 3-1 since then. Boy, that does say something for Billy and the handle he has on this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny. I've been very critical of Graham Mertz because I have my eyes open and I look and I go, he's a very good quarterback for a certain kind of team. But when you have a defense like Florida's had over the last couple of years, he's not an explosive guy at quarterback. And I think, honestly, I kind of feel the same way about Napier as a head coach. Like, he's just got limitations. And those limitations show up on Saturdays. Certainly they showed up against Tennessee. And if you were interviewing me last week, we would have been killing about all the mistakes that they made against the Volunteers, especially when it came to clock management and timeouts and those sorts of things. So I think from a cultural perspective, and honestly, you hear this if you talk to anybody who's close to the program, they all want Billy Napier to succeed. He's a very genuine person. Anybody who's met him comes away saying, wow, I want that guy to succeed. The problem is that when you're on the field and the timeout usage, or you've only got 10 guys on the field, or you got 12 guys on the field, depending upon the situation, and those sorts of things keep popping up, it just sort of it highlights the limitations. So, the culture aspect is something that Napier and company talked about very, very early on in the year. And that has proven to be true. So the fact that these guys are still playing for him, that they're still playing hard, that they've gotten the right guys out on the field, and that they're starting to show that they can compete with some of these guys. Now, obviously they're going to have to show they can compete with bigger and better over the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a feather in his cap, but it's also what he came to Gainesville selling. I mean, he came to Gainesville selling, that he was going to value character, value those sorts of things, value culture. And that's proven to be true. So you got to give him credit for being able to do that. Well, also, I still think being able to keep your eyes open and saying, hey, there are still some things that need to get buttoned up in some other areas, whether it's recruiting or game management or play calling or whatever it may be. And, I am cautiously optimistic about some of the changes that we've seen, but it always is that question of, is it too little too late, given some of the problems Florida's had over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I agree. This has a much more Will Muschamp feel than Dan Mullen or Jim McElwain. I think the fan base was done with Mullen and McElwain, and particularly McElwain. They just didn't particularly care for those guys. I think the fan base liked Muschamp. it just didn't work out. And kind of the same thing with Billy. I think the fan base likes him as a person. They just don't like his boneheaded stuff that he does on game days some of the time. Having said that, as we wrap up with Will Miles, final question. The word realistic doesn't often apply to Gator fans, but I think most of them are realistic about what's ahead in the next month. What are your realistic expectations, particularly for the next 4? Florida State doesn't look as daunting now, but when it comes to Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, is 2-2 realistic, or is that even, shooting a pretty high bar there?
I mean, I think you got to sort of look at who Florida's beaten already. And if you look at like stats like EPA per play and those sorts of things, Kentucky, Central Florida, and Mississippi State are all also Rans compared to Florida and where Florida is. The 3 teams they've lost to, Miami, Texas A&M, and Tennessee, are on the good side of that ledger. And these next 4 are all on the good side of that ledger, and significantly so. It's not like it's even close. So, I mean, from an expectation perspective, if they end up 1-3 in the next 4 and then pick off Florida State and make it to a bowl game, that's probably my expectation. I think I picked them to be 6-6 to start the year in our preseason magazine, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. It's been sort of a bumpy ride to get there, and what the future of the program looks like is an open question with that, but I think that should probably be the expectation. But I mean, again, I think it's one of those things where once you get to a point where you're not in the playoff, does it matter? The question is not just are you successful in a game against Georgia or successful in a game against Texas? It's, are you set up for success in 2025 and beyond? And that's really the question that Florida fans and the Florida administration is going to have to wrestle with, irrespective of whether Florida, goes on another 5-game losing streak to end the season or whether they end up 8-4. I mean, you really got to kind of ask yourself, are you set up for success? And that's a more difficult question than just what was the result on the field. And certainly will set up a lot of conversation during talking season once the season's over.
Will, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about readandreaction.com and what they can expect when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, so we do pregame breakdowns, and then we do postgame wrap-ups, sort of trying to tell you what happened, but also more importantly, why. So a lot of that's done through stats, but we do film breakdowns as well. Try to tell you what's going on behind the scenes and hopefully make you understand a little bit more about what went on when you come over there. So like I said, usually by Thursday, we'll have a pregame preview up, sort of highlighting the key matchup of the week. And then on Sunday, when you wake up in the morning, you'll have a postgame wrap-up explaining to you hopefully why the Gators won the game.
Will Miles, readandreaction.com. You can also catch him as part of the Gators Breakdown podcast. Will, I know you're busy, man. Appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
He's fearless in the face of danger when entering enemy territory.
What is your mission?
Get insights and interviews from Jags beat reporter Hayes Carline when he takes you behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Hacker here, and guys, the countdown is over. I didn't just hit the 100-pound mark. I blew past it thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. 107 pounds gone just like that. More weight than a quarter keg of beer. Speaking of beer, here's where it gets fun. We're throwing a big celebration at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra Beach. Yeah, you heard that right. A weight loss party at Mr. Chubby's. The irony's juicier than their wings, but here's the thing. I can celebrate at Mr. Chubby's and still keep the pounds off. If you didn't know, yes, wings are still on the menu while losing weight with Awaken 180 weight loss. Join me in 1010XL on November 9th for the Florida and Texas game, and you could win a spot at my table. Food is included. There'll be ticket giveaways and more for the celebration. If I can shed a whole Mr. Chubby and still throw a party at one, what's holding you back? Call Awaken 180, 844-346-1800, or hit up awaken180weightloss.com and let's get it done.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Facing a DUI charge or even a boating under the influence charge?
Well, I'm your man, DUI lawyer Malcolm Anthony at 285-4LAW. 285-4LAW. Once again, 285-4LAW.
Are you tired of having a plain and boring backyard? Really want to impress your family and friends this year? Then stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway. Imagine hosting guests at your new outdoor kitchen, relaxing by your custom-built fireplace under a brand new pergola. Stone Core can also remodel your old pool deck and beautiful new pavers. Make your backyard wishes a reality. Visit Stone Core on Phillips Highway and let's get started at stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Tony Baselli gets up early Monday morning to share a big football breakfast with you.
Some French toast and sausage patties.
Hall of Fame Monday, 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the Drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
Pace Carline here. If you're like me in the fall, you want to watch football, not clean. Enter Molly Maid, voted Bold City Best Cleaning Service 3 years in a row. Molly Maid is reliable, friendly, and thorough. Visit mollymaid.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And just like that, it is tip-off week in the National Basketball Association. The NBA gets underway. The 82-game regular season gauntlet begins, and a lot of expectations just to the south of us down there with the Orlando Magic. Paolo Banchero, a brand new contract for Franz Wagner, And the Orlando Magic have a lot of high expectations after last year's playoff run. With that, let's go to the voice of the Orlando Magic, David Steele. He is part of the FanDuel TV network there that's broadcast Magic games for years. And David's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. David, how we doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ryan?
David, we're good. Thank you for the time. And that'll take some getting used to for folks. The FanDuel Sports Network now for the Orlando Magic, along with many other sports outlets. Must be an exciting time down there.
Well, it is. It's a new look for the network. You're still going to get the same Magic games, the same high quality telecast. Me and Jeff Turner, Dante Marchitelli, Brian Hill, the same crew. Pre-game, post-game, during the game. So not much is going to change except, that look that it's going to be a different look for you, but it's going to be great.
Well, you mentioned a different look, and let's dive right in. It was certainly an interesting offseason for the Orlando Magic. Before we really take a deep dive, David, just a reflection on last year and coming in to this year. Boy, they turned the corner, man, and they did it in a very quick amount of time. Just a couple of years ago, 22 wins, but last year, 47 wins, going all the way to 7 games in the first round of the playoffs. I know when the season starts up here, there's a lot of excitement about the Magic in these parts. I can only imagine what it's like down there in Orlando.
There is more energy than we've seen in town in probably better than 10 years. More expectations. I think the fans like this group of players. They like the team. They like the coach. They're an easy group to pull for. They're young. They're energetic. They've got great personality. They're really good basketball players. They want to be good. They want to be great. They want to bring a championship to Central Florida. And so I think the franchise is in a very good place right now.
Clearly, it all begins with Paolo Banchero. He's coming into year 3 as an NBA superstar, and that's what he turned into last week, an all-star as well. Just your thoughts, David, being around him every day on year 3 for Paolo Banchero and your expectations for him.
Unbelievable, really, what you see. I mean, it just blows you away. I've been to a lot of the practices in the preseason and just watching him with his teammates interact with the coaching staff, the teammates, the professionalism, the seriousness of how he approaches his job, his profession. He really wants to be one of the greatest of all time. And he's off to a pretty darn good start. In 2 years, he's become one of the top, I think you could argue, top 20 players in the NBA right now. And again, he won't be 22 years old until November. So it's just amazing. And he's lifted his game this year, Ryan. You'll see they've given him more opportunities to be a playmaker in a half-court set. He's going to be operating, it looks like, a lot from like the free throw line area with the ball facing the basket, making plays for other players and for himself. He's just got such a great feel for the game. He's so strong and physical. He's going to dominate certain matchups. So it's just going to be great to watch him progress. I'm very excited about his future.
The television voice of the Orlando Magic, David Steele, on the FanDuel Sports Network, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, you've been there since the beginning. You saw when Shaq was the guy in Central Florida. Dwight Howard was the guy in Central Florida. You could argue Tracy McGrady, maybe Penny Hardaway as well. In only 3 years, and really 2+ years, has Paolo Banchero kind of entered that conversation as the dominant force down there in Central Florida?
Yeah, it's funny you would mention that. I was talking about this with somebody recently, just at practice in the last couple of weeks. You mentioned the guys. Really, there's a Mount Rushmore of Magic basketball. It's pretty easy to identify. It would be Shaq, Penny, T-Mac, and Dwight Howard. That clearly, those are clearly the 4 best players that have donned a Magic uniform, and they're all, great basketball players. I think Paolo is knocking on the door to knock one of those guys off the face of Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's only his 3rd year, so it's too early to do that just yet. But you can see where this is going with him, and I think he's going to be a multiple-time All-Star. He's going to make All NBA teams, be one of the top 15 players in the NBA before very long. And you're gonna hear his name mentioned with the Shaqs and the Dwight Howards and Penny Hardaway, Tracy McGrady. I would put him at number 5 already right now.
Everybody knows, David, that in the NBA you have to have a couple of stars on your team. Orlando certainly has that with Franz Wagner. They rewarded Franz with a brand new lucrative contract this offseason. Your thoughts on Wagner? And, boy, that 1-2 combo of he and Paolo is a dangerous, dangerous duo.
Yeah, they're very complementary players. They're both 6'10", so they have tremendous size. Franz is a different, he's a different breed from Paolo. He doesn't have the brute physical strength to just overpower people, which gives Paolo an extra dimension that, not very many players have. More LeBron James-like, Banchero than anything else. But Franz has a really clever game, great footwork, an ability to finish around the basket when it looks like there's nothing there, can use either hand. A big thing for him will be, can his three-point shooting return to where it was 2 years ago? He had a tough year, only shot about 28% from three last year, and still averaged about 20 points a game and got his points, got his free throws, did everything to help you win games. But if he gets his three-point percentage back up where it was in the upper 30% range, which I think there's no reason why he can't. I think, there were injuries and fatigue factors last year that contributed to the lower three-point percentage. But if he gets that three-point percentage back up, that opens up a lot for him and everybody else.
A couple more for the TV voice of the Orlando Magic, David Steele. We will have some Orlando Magic radio broadcasts this year on 1010XL as the Orlando Magic, with what they've done the last couple of years. We love being a part of that here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. David, I love everything about Jalen Suggs. I mean, Jalen Suggs, from his rookie year to year two, there was a jump. There was a gigantic jump last year. He's the kind of guy that if he's on your team, you love him. And if he's not on your team, you can't stand him. He is just a nuisance when it's on the defensive end. He'll make key shots on the three-point area, which he got very good at last year. Again, Wagner and Banchero are the stars, but one of the glue pieces to me is absolutely Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And he's sort of the heart and soul of the defense for this ball club. He spearheads things out on the point, makes life miserable for opposing point guards, very physical, a great athlete, and really likes to play defense. He loves the challenge, and he loves the competition. He's got that football mentality, Ryan, that he had as an All-American high school quarterback, Mr. Football in the state of Minnesota, also Mr. Basketball in the state of Minnesota as a high school senior. So he's special, and he's in his fourth year now, so he's settled in, and he's a part of this core with Banchero and Wagner, and those three guys are really just a great foundation for this franchise going forward. And none of them are over 23 years old.
That's a great point. And when you really think, David, what they did this offseason, they extended Franz. They also just recently extended Wendell Carter Jr., and then they go out and get Contavious Caldwell-Pope. They had money to spend in the offseason. They brought in KCP after a couple of championships, including a most recent one in Denver. I got to tell you, maybe I'm drinking the Orlando Magic Kool-Aid, David. Everybody was talking about, Klay Thompson and guys like that, and that would have been fun. But, boy, I think Orlando really nailed this with KCP. He is exactly what that team needed.
I think so, too. It was perfect. I mean, you got a guy that is, he's available. He's going to play historically in his career an average of about 75 games in a season. So, historically he'll miss 4 or 5 games and that's it. And he knocks down three-point shots when he's open. He's 40% career three-point shooter. The team desperately needed availability at that position, and they needed three-point shooting at that position. And then you get that, and you also get one of the better perimeter defenders at that two-guard position in the NBA. So you're not going to lose anything defensively. In fact, I think Suggs and Caldwell-Pope are just going to be a buzzsaw in the backcourt defensively. We got a glimpse of it Friday night in a preseason game against Philadelphia when both team starters were on the floor early. Those two guys were just wreaking havoc everywhere, Suggs and Caldwell-Pope. So it's a good starting lineup and a very deep bench, too.
You mentioned the bench. As we begin to wrap up, let's go there. And again, I try not to be a homer. I try to be realistic here. But you talk about 1 to 12 as far as an NBA roster every night. I mean, Orlando has Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, Mo Wagner, Anthony Black, Gary Harris, Jed Howard. I mean, just go on down the line, not to mention the first-round pick, Da Silva out of Colorado. I mean, they are a ridiculously deep basketball team coming into the year.
Yeah, and they're all healthy right now. So, we're getting a look at, the full roster, and it really is impressive when the second unit comes in and you see that there's a very slight drop-off from the first unit to the second unit. Isaac has put on about 20 pounds of muscle weight in the upper body from the end of last year. He's up to about 250, and he's just a physical beast. And we know what a great defender he is, and he's healthy. So if you can keep him healthy, that kind of anchors that second unit's defensive team. And Anthony Black looks much better in his second year. He's really looks like he's going to take a big step. You know what Cole Anthony can give you. Gary Harris was the starting two guard until Contavious Caldwell-Pope came along, and Gary's a very talented guy. It's just that he's been injury prone, and he averages about 55 games played per year. So if he can have a healthy season, that certainly would help things. But it's just a lot of depth. You mentioned Mo Wagner as a backup center. Even the number 3 center, Goga Bitadze, is a guy that would be playing for a lot of other NBA teams. So it's a good situation for a coach to have, a lot of options.
Final moments with David Steele. David, you've called these games since the inception of the franchise in '89. You know what good basketball teams in Orlando look like. And let's be honest, you know what bad basketball teams in Orlando look like. I got to tell you, man, to me, the rebuild's over. They went out and they spent money. They won 47 games last year. There's expectations down there that haven't been in a long, long time. If you're an Orlando Magic fan, this year has the potential to be very, very fun.
Yeah, and the tickets are reflecting that. If your fans up there want to come to a Magic game, I would advise go ahead and get online and grab the tickets to the games that you want to see, because from what I've seen and what I've heard, tickets are selling like crazy around here. The preseason game on Friday night was sold out, and I can't remember the last time we had a preseason game where it was packed to the top row of the upper deck and fans were just into it. It was a game that has no meaning whatsoever, but there's a lot of interest here in this basketball team, and rightfully so. It hasn't been like this since Dwight Howard was here, and that was, I guess the last year was 10-11. So we're talking about a 12 or 13-year period when the interest had waned a little bit, not just in Central Florida, but I'm sure all around the state. But believe me, it's back. There's a lot of juice and a lot of interest in this team.
All right, David, leave us with this. 82 games in the regular season. I believe I read 77 of those 82 will be on the FanDuel Sports Network. You, Jeff Turner, you mentioned Dante Marcatelli. We have Dante on here a bunch. He's a friend of the station. The head coach, Brian Hill, as well. What can people here in Jacksonville look forward to on this year's broadcast?
It's just going to be a lot of fun. We always have a good time. What's great about that group that you just mentioned, we're all very close friends off the court. So there's a chemistry that, I think our broadcast team has that is difficult to match just about anywhere else for a team. We've been around a long time. We spend a lot of time together, both on the air and off the air, and just have great relationships personally. And I think that translates on the air. We have a good time. The team's going to be good. It's going to be a fun year.
David, it's a busy time of year for you. Tip-off week. It starts Wednesday down in Miami for the Orlando Magic. Thank you for taking time out for us, and we'll talk again soon, my friend.
Thank you, Ryan.
Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to my buddy David Steele, the play-by-play TV voice of the Orlando Magic. And David's been doing it since the inception back in 1989, man. He's called thousands of Orlando Magic games now for the FanDuel Sports Network. Of course, you'll get a majority of their games. I think 77 of the 82 games are going to be available on that FanDuel Sports Network, formerly Bally Sports, and that's available right here in the city of Jacksonville. And we'll actually be airing on the radio side some Orlando Magic games this year, beginning, I believe, on Saturday with Memphis and Orlando. The Magic tip it off officially tomorrow in their regular season opener against the Miami Heat. So, again, thank you to David Steele, TV voice of the Orlando Magic, for joining us here on Hacker After Dark. Boy, we talked about a lot tonight, man. There's no doubt about it. We talked NBA. We certainly spent some time on college football, primarily the Gators, now at 4-3 on the year. Certainly talked about Florida State and Miami, the Hurricanes, a 3-touchdown favorite in Coral Gables on Saturday night when the Seminoles come to town. And then we obviously spent some time as well on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will get back to work tomorrow down at the Miller Electric Center, awaiting the arrival of the Green Bay Packers Sunday at 1 o'clock. And, of course, you'll hear that game right here on 1010XL Radio. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a crazy busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, David Steele of the FanDuel Sports Network for joining us. Always appreciate David taking time out. Thank you to Will Miles, readandreaction.com, talking Florida Gators. Florida now 4-3 on the year after their victory over Kentucky this past Saturday. Florida will have a bye week, and then they will get ready for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party a week from Saturday as they take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Thank you to Justin Barney of Channel 4 for joining us this evening to talk Jags and a little high school football as well. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Jesse Simonton on 3sports.com. He is a national college football columnist. We certainly talked Florida, spent some time on Florida State and Miami as well, and appreciate Jesse taking time out for us tonight. We will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green, and again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us.